don't know where I'm going right now.
I don't know where we are. I don't see a movie theater.
I don't either. Sure.
It's gotta be around that way, I would imagine. That way might take you out. I don't know. Watch, there's just no movie theater here.
Yeah. It's the home living furniture store.
That's what's left.
Packed. It's not even on the fucking list.
It was on the thing back there.
That'd be kind of fucking hilarious. Like, so it said the movie theater thing, and it's just like a crossed out.
Yeah. Like they were literally taking the sign down as we're pulling.
Yeah.
It won't be packed because nobody will be able to find it.
Yeah.
Is it across the street maybe?
No.
There's a sign for it.
It's definitely, like, I see the sign there, so it's probably right up just around this corner. Nope.
There we go. Yeah.
Everywhere but the one side.
Yeah. Hello everyone, and welcome to this latest 90s styles of trip. It's been a while, but can't think of, look at that guy's got a Batman shirt. Can't think of a better way to spend a birthday than to
pull it back in like that.
Yeah, there you go. Just like Batman would.
Oh my god.
Never thought I'd get to experience the return of my childhood Batman, Michael Keaton. The 1989 Batman's been my all-time favorite film since I was a little kid, and yeah, and it's actually almost the anniversary of the release of the original Batman also. It was either, I think, June 16th or June 18th, but going to see The Flash, the broskies here. We got King Garonitis, Duke Dern, and we got Simply Stimpy over here.
Against our will.
How you feeling about this?
Different. I'm looking forward to it though.
Yeah, alright. Here we go. Let's see, does it live up to the hype? We just got back from seeing The Flash in IMAX, and have to say, my first initial thoughts on the film, it was pretty insane. As someone who is a hardcore fan of the 1989 Batman and of Michael Keaton, it was so amazing to be able to see Michael Keaton don the cape again and the cowl, and to be able to see Michael Keaton in that role again. It was something that I never thought I would ever, was ever going to see. But it was a childhood dream. It was something that I always hoped for when I was a little kid. I had hoped after Batman Returns that someday I would actually be able to see Michael Keaton as Batman again, but never really thought it would happen because, you know, with time, the way he left the superhero genre in the first place wasn't really on the best of terms, so it was just something that I kind of had written off and figured would have never happened. But here we are, it's 2023, pretty much anything is possible, even Michael Keaton being back as Batman. And if you've seen this movie, you know that there are many other things that most of us would have thought never would have happened, but happened in this movie. I'm not going to spoil too much because I really think if you're a Batman fan, you really need to see this movie. There are some surprises and some twists that will blow your mind. If you're a Superman fan, there are some surprises and twists that will absolutely blow your mind. Your jaw will be on the floor. I would say the weakest part of the movie would probably be the effects. There's definitely some effects in this movie that are really rough, especially the opening scene. The opening scene has some CG that's really bad, like really bad. Way too video gamey, and like, if you're gonna do all CGI like that, and there's points where there's like the camera's moving in slow-mo, but it's still really heavy CG, and you're like hovering on this one image of a particular CGI character, and it looks really bad, you know what I mean? And it's just, you can't hover on it like that. But then there are also scenes and sequences that had amazing effects. You know, I think all of the scenes with Michael Keaton's Batman looked awesome. You know, I think Keaton was really the best part of this movie, and Darren and Brian both seem to agree that Batman pretty much carried the movie. Now, that's not to say that the rest of the movie wasn't great, because the rest of the movie was great. It had a lot of emotion. It had a lot of the things that you hope for in a superhero movie. You know, it wasn't really like a standard superhero movie, I think is what's fair to say. Another thing that I would say about The Flash is that considering Michael Keaton's performance, honestly, I don't care how old the guy is, he genuinely could step back into the role of Batman in a heartbeat if he truly wanted to. Like, he really did kind of steal the whole show for me in terms of his performances. The action sequences with him, really just, they felt like, you actually felt like it was Keaton in the suit fighting. Now, I don't know, I probably wasn't him most of the time, it was probably a stunt guy, because obviously age, but you never once got the feeling like, man, this guy really shouldn't have done this because he's just too old. I never once had that feeling, honestly. Even though his intro scene is very strange and might catch you off guard as far as, you know, where his character, where his version of Bruce Wayne is at, it might throw you off a little bit, and because it definitely threw me off and it wasn't what I was expecting. It was a little bit out there, but once we get into, you know, him getting back to being the Batman and the Bruce Wayne that we know and love, it's like, it's really firing on all cylinders. It's just, it's so awesome, and I don't know if it's a positive or a negative, but for me personally, I really didn't have any interest in a Flash movie because I know nothing about the character, and I'm, you know, Batman is one of the few superheroes that I genuinely have a lot of interest in, and if Keaton wasn't in this movie, I would have had no interest in seeing it, and I wouldn't have, you know, made the effort to go see it, honestly. The only disappointing thing is the fact they had a lot of other plans for moving forward with Keaton as Batman, and when, you know, Warner Brothers or whoever decided to hand over the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, to James Gunn for the DC Extended Universe, or whatever the hell they're calling it, they kind of nixed all the plans that they had. They were going to do a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton as an old Batman, and I would have loved that. I think it would have been amazing. It seems crazy to not do a Batman Beyond movie at this point. I think it's ridiculous that they haven't already done it, but everybody wants to see a part of their childhood kind of restored. They want to see that their childhood still matters to them, and that they want to feel, just for a couple hours, they want to feel a little bit how they did when they were little kids, seeing these characters in these movies and these shows for the first time. And unfortunately, probably half the time, Hollywood fails, and it's usually a disappointment. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be right back at that same IMAX theater to see the final Indiana Jones film, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Harrison Ford's goodbye to one of my favorite characters from my childhood, one of my favorite franchises from when I was a child, and everybody, including Kathleen Kennedy and Disney and everybody, have confirmed that, you know, they are not going to recast. This is going to be the end of Indiana Jones, and that's putting a lot of pressure to, you know, not crap the bed and not leave fans disappointed or feel like they've their beloved franchise has been tarnished in some way. I think The Flash did a good job. I think if this is the only return to Batman that we get for Michael Keaton, I think I'm satisfied with it. So I figured I'd give some a little bit of final thoughts after having some more time to let the movie kind of sink in and soak in, and also after I've kind of seen that apparently the movie is on track to underperform at the box office this weekend. Its opening weekend, the movie came out June 16th, I believe. Apparently it's on track to open with 60 million, and apparently the studio was expecting at least to have 70 million. So apparently it's on track to underperform, and I know a lot of people would say, well, 60 million is a lot of freaking money, so how can anybody say that that's underperforming for a movie? But unfortunately, in this day and age, with the crazy budgets that Hollywood movies have, especially for superhero movies, the crazy budgets, the crazy expectations that studios put on these big budget movies nowadays, unfortunately it is possible for a $60 million opening weekend to be considered a disappointment. But a lot of people I've seen are kind of speculating about what the reasoning could be behind that underwhelming performance. Some people think that it could be the Ezra Miller controversies, which I'm not going to dive into here. I think most people know about those issues at this point, and there are a lot of people who didn't want to see the movie because of Ezra Miller. and I completely understand that, but I honestly don't think that the movie kind of underperforming, I don't know if that necessarily was an overwhelming factor in that. I've also seen people make the argument that if you didn't grow up in the 90s and you don't have like a kind of a relationship, so to speak, with Michael Keaton's Batman, you might not have much interest. You know, if you're of a younger generation, you might not have any interest in seeing Michael Keaton back as Batman, so there won't be that nostalgic connection that'll bring you into the theater, which that's another argument I completely understand. I mean, there are definitely going to be people younger than me who don't really have a connection to the original '89 Batman or Batman Returns or Batman Forever or Batman and Robin, that really aren't going to be drawn to the theater by, you know, cameos or surprises or you know, returning you know, nostalgia pops, so to speak. And to be honest, a big part of this movie's promotion was centered around the return of Michael Keaton as Batman, and a lot of people point to the Ezra Miller controversies for that, because Ezra Miller hasn't really done much press at all for this movie, and they've kind of been intentionally centering the film and promoting it around Michael Keaton's Batman. And now going into this, that kind of worried me a little bit, because I was worried that if the movie didn't do well, would people kind of blame Michael Keaton, you know, people not caring about Michael Keaton. I don't know. I mean, like I said earlier in my initial thoughts, I really do think that any success this movie does have is going to be built around nostalgia, because this is a superhero who hasn't really had a big budget mainstream film before. It's a superhero that honestly I don't think that many people are familiar with, especially nowadays. The younger generations I don't think are that familiar with a superhero like the Flash. So I do think there were definitely some things working against the movie, the Ezra stuff, and you know, the fact that not a lot of people are familiar with the Flash, and not a lot of people necessarily have interest in this movie. You know, a movie about the Flash. I had no interest in a movie about the Flash. Honestly, the only reason I went to the theater to see this in the first place was obviously Michael Keaton. If Keaton wasn't involved in this, I wouldn't have even paid any mind to it, honestly, other than the fact that Andy Muschietti was a director on this, who, for horror fans, will know. He recently directed the Chapter 1, Chapter 2 of the remakes of Stephen King's It. So that aspect of it did kind of garner interest with me, because I was curious as to how Andy Muschietti was going to do outside of the horror genre. I definitely think the effects are the weakest part of it, like some of the CG and some of the scenes was just really bad. And other scenes that looked really good, I thought, you know, all the Keaton Batman fight scenes I thought looked really good. They looked better than they did in the trailers. So that I just figured I'd do a little bit of an update on my thoughts, on how my thoughts have changed a little bit. I still think it's a good movie, but I still think nostalgia is what's bringing people into this movie, even though it might, you know, underperform under Hollywood's standards. I would really love to see more of Keaton's Batman, and some of the other surprises. I would love to see those people in future DC films. I don't know if we're gonna get that, but yeah, I don't know. So with that being said, let's jump back to past car me. This is a time travel video. It's perfect for the Flash. Let's jump back to the car version of me from several hours ago. So I would say the Flash, positive experience. Seeing it in IMAX was a good experience, and yeah, I would say definitely go out and check it out. And yeah, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Let me know what your memories are of Batman. If you were super excited for this movie, if you saw it, did it live up to the hype for you? Did it let you down? I'd love to know what you think down in the comments. And yeah, be sure to like this video and subscribe for much more to come in the very near future. And I will see you guys next time for even more 90s Nostalgia trips.